So they head into the complex and make their way shortly towards the grid, ready for race 2. Round 17 of the championship, 15 laps of racing to come. Tom Ingram picking up his third win of the season earlier on, but like Dan Camish and like Senna Proctor, he now has to start on the hard tyre. As he said to Alan, not expecting to win this race. It's the slower tyre. But just see where we can end up. The results of this race set the grid for the final race of the day, but there's a part reverse grid between 6 and 12 positions reversed, and whichever number gets drawn out of the globe at the end of this race, that's the number of positions reversed. So if you finish somewhere between 6th and 12th, you've got a chance of a reverse grid pole position for the last race. And again, the top 7 finishers from this race will have the lack of laps that they can use the boost for in the final race, plus they'll likely have a worse grid position because of the part reverse grid. So the car's just about forming up. You don't want to get there too soon as the front row starters Dan Camish and Tom Ingram, the pole sitter, because you'll have a long wait otherwise, because you've still got the last few cars just coming out of the hairpin now. As far as the eye can stretch, when you look back to the last car coming up now, the final 2 on the grid, both non-finishers in the first race. Josh has come back up to the commentary box. Josh Barrett, Chris Hartley to talk you through the race. Alan Hyde down in the pit lane to report on any of the stories as the marshals signal they're about to get the race underway. Round 17 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship about to roar into life. The lights go out and we are underway. It looks like a good start for Dan Camish to the eye. Can he challenge the lead of the race from Tom Ingram? Tom's got the inside line. Camish is definitely better off the line, but the gap is covered, the line is covered, and it will be Ingram that leads into turn 1, but they're absolutely nose to tail, and all over the back of him is Dan Camish as they make their way into Hawthorne now. Senna Proctor has held on to 3rd with Dan Rowbottom in 4th place, Tom Chilton in 5th position. They weave through the chicane, and again we've got one going off and through onto the off-road, going through the chicane, just about rejoins and stays on the track. But everybody else safely got through there, and there was no big dramas as they went through Tower Bend either. And we've got Tom Ingram just edging away, coming out of that corner now from Dan Camish. So he's got himself a 2 or 3 car length advantage. And then we've got Dan Rowbottom, who managed to find his way through at that corner into 3rd place, ahead of the now 4th place car on the hard tyre, of course, remember, of Senna Proctor. So Rowbottom and Chilton, perhaps the 2 to watch here, because they are both on the soft tyre, and they should be quicker than the 2 cars that lead the race at the moment, which are Tom Ingram on the hard tyre, Dan Camish on the hard tyre, and Dan Rowbottom is already coming after them. You've got Chilton who's got through as well on the soft tyre ahead of Senna Proctor. So Senna was going forwards on lap 1 in race 1. He's going backwards on lap 1 in race 2. But he's still there in 5th place, 3rd best of the hard tyre shod cars. So Ingram leads, Camish is 2nd, Rowbottom though coming after them on the soft tyre is 3rd, and also on the soft tyre looking good at the end of the first lap of the race is Tom Chilton, with Proctor down to 5th. De Leon, Rainford, Morgan, Taylor Smith and Shedden round out the top 10. So Shedden, one to watch in this race as well, as Ash Sutton makes a move up the inside to gain a place on Stephen Jelly. So Ash Sutton, getting up ahead of Detzer Patterson into 13th place. 7 places gained in a lap and a bit then for the 4-time champion, as the top 4 concertina up together at Tower Bend, and Dan Rowbottom looking very racy, isn't he, Josh, on that soft tyre?
That's right. That was quite a spectacular moment through the Jim Clark S's between the 2 West Surrey racing drivers, Darryl De Leon and Charles Rainford, on that first lap. They were side by side all the way through, impressively, but no positional change. What about the Napa Racing teammates? Are they going to do similar this time? Not yet, but Dan Rowbottom wants to get on with this because Tom Chilton's getting closer and closer to his rear wing.
And Robo is all over his teammate Dan Camish through Sunny in, through Sunny out. The inside line appears. Is he going to get the job done on the way to the complex? Side by side they come into the corner, and he does get through. So up to 2nd place, and then you've got Chilton trying to get through on the way into the hairpin. Now he sees the opportunity, goes for the move, side by side with Dan Camish for 3rd place, nose in front. Brilliant move. Tom Chilton gets through, no contact, tight move, but he makes it stick. So the 2 on the soft tyres now up to 2nd and 3rd from 4th and 5th on the grid. At the end of the 2nd lap of the race, it's Tom Ingram, the championship leader, leading the race. 2nd place now for Dan Rowbottom after that move into the complex. Tom Chilton after the move into the hairpin 3rd, and down from 2nd to 4th on the hard tyre is Dan Camish. Then you've got Darryl De Leon and Charles Rainford coming after him next on the soft shod BMWs. Morgan, Taylor Smith and Proctor next up. So Proctor down to 9th place as as Dan Rowbottom gets very close to the back of the race leader coming through Tower Bend. You've also got the BMWs now ganging up as well, getting through on Adam Morgan. So Morgan, who's the one that went a bit wide through that chicane on that first lap of the race, is behind one of them, but he fends off the other as they come out through the Jim Clark S's. But it's all about the battle for the lead of the race. Into Sunny they go, with them being nose to tail now, kicking up the dust with the right rear Goodyear tyre. Is the driver in second place? That is the driver on the quicker tyre. He looks to the inside again and goes for the lead of the race, and he's through. So Robo gets into first place. Rowbottom leads. Second place then for Tom Ingram, and it's the other Tom on the soft tyre, Chilton, in the other Hyundai, again going up the inside all the way into the hairpin, and right up onto two wheels he goes. Becomes a motorbike for about 2 seconds, that Hyundai, but he makes it stick. Great move. Chilton into second. Your new race leader, though, is Dan Rowbottom.
Kind of felt like Tom Ingram was picking his battles there, wasn't it? He knows a good result, points still on the table, so he's still in third position. Meanwhile, watch out for Daryl De Leon in fifth, because he's just set the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 22.0. On the big screens, you can see that big dive-in move from Tom Chilton, which turned into up on two wheels. He was using a lot of the curb through all of that, was Tom Chilton, but he's up into second position. Then in fourth position, Dan Camish, as he picked up a bit of advertising boarding on the front right corner of his car as he starts to get chased by a very quick Daryl De Leon. Meanwhile, Ash Sutton into the top 10, so he's absolutely flying from pretty much the back of the grid.
Aidan Moffat about to pounce on Senna Proctor coming out through the Jim Clark S's. He's done it as they go behind the trees to come back out of the tree cover in the other order. The BMW now ahead of the Hyundai. Of course, he's on the hard tyre, Senna Proctor. Still third best of those on the hard tyres, but out of the top 10 now, with Moffat up to 11th place with that move. So Rowbottom nearly 9/10 clear at the end of the previous lap, but of course that didn't account for the fact that Chilton was overtaking, and overtaking now is Daryl De Leon at the inside of Dan Camish through the second part of the complex. Camish is on the inside trying to defend from Adam Morgan now, who's trying to go around the outside of him at the hairpin. So up to fourth place for De Leon, and about to be fifth is Adam Morgan, who is on the boost, and there is no laps of boost available for Dan Camish. Remember, he's only got 2 anyway. He's used them all up, and Morgan gets through before they even get to the braking zone. So De Leon fourth, Morgan fifth, and Dan Camish now down to sixth place. And he's got another BMW to deal with, Josh. That's going to be Charles Rainford.
Yeah, the BMW's coming alive in this second race of the weekend. Daryl De Leon, who turned 20 yesterday, trying to get himself a day late birthday present. Can he get himself up onto the podium? Because he's chasing after Tom Ingram. He started the lap about a second behind, but it looks like he's catching already. Meanwhile, his teammate Charles Rainford dives up the inside of Dan Camish, and that's another place lost for Camish, down to 7th as Charles Rainford moves into 6th. He was a little bit wide out of Tower, but Camish can't fight back. So up into 6th position, Charles Rainford, down to 7th for Camish, and now he has the Toyotas of Aaron Taylor-Smith and Gordon Shedden chasing him, but in turn they're being caught by Ash Sutton, who, as we mentioned, is into the top 10, and now he's chasing another multiple champion, Gordon Shedden.
This could be good, couldn't it? Gordon Shedden and Ash Sutton, just the 7 championship titles between them, both charging through the field, particularly from 20th on the grid. Ash Sutton in the yellow and black, number 116 Ford Focus under the tail of Gordon Shedden's Toyota, as Daryl De Leon looks at the inside into the hairpin and gets through into third place. Lovely move, Tom Chilton style move, and he deposes Tom Ingram off the podium. So De Leon into a podium paying position now, down to 4th, and not yet out of trouble is on the hard tyre Tom Ingram, because Adam Morgan getting close to him, looks at the inside but backs off out of the move at Clairvaux. But he's fighting a losing battle, you feel here, Tom Ingram. He's still, though, of course, doing okay given that he's on the hard tyre. He'll be back onto the soft tyre for the final race. Dan Rowbottom, though, charging away at the head of the field. He's 1.3 seconds clear now of Tom Chilton and Daryl De Leon. And then it's going to be 4th place, isn't it, for Adam Morgan, because he launches one up the inside, gets through on those sticky soft tyres under braking into Tower Bend, and Tom Ingram loses another place down to 5th.
In the battle of the champions, Ash Sutton already through and up into 9th position ahead of Gordon Shedden, and immediately chasing after Shedden's teammate Aaron Taylor-Smith for 8th place as they head this time through the Jim Clark S's, and they are both catching the car of Dan Camish, one of those hard Shod drivers who is being caught. Meanwhile, there's a black and orange mechanical warning flag going out to Nick Hamilton. So Nick Hamilton will be bound for the pit lane. Meanwhile, in that battle for what is 7th position, coming down towards the complex, Cam is still ahead, but it's a train of 4 cars now. As Aaron Taylor-Smith dives up the inside through the right-hander. That was a really good move. And Ash Sutton's going to try and follow him through and get ahead of his Napa Racing teammate. Maybe around the outside of Aaron Taylor-Smith as well.
Yeah, all together, 4 of them at the hairpin. Meanwhile, Tom Ingram is trying to fend off Charles Rainford just ahead of them. Here comes Ash Sutton, gets the better run, draws alongside Aaron Taylor-Smith. He's ahead of him, he's got the inside line, and Sutton is going to make that position stick on the way into the right-hander at Clairvaux. So Rowbottom leads, 2nd for Chilton, 3rd for De Leon, 4th for Morgan, 5th for Ingram, and then 6th for Rainford. Up to 7th now, from 20th on the grid is Ash Sutton. What was it Tom Ingram said at the start of the, or before the start of the race to Alan? Yeah, he might be back in Darlington at the start of the race, but you just know Ash Sutton is going to be with me at the end of the race, and he's not far away, is he? Into the pits with that black and orange flag comes Hamilton. Normally that's because of loose bodywork or fluid coming from the car, so it's been a tough day so far here at Croft for Nick as he comes into the pits, or having already had 1 retirement today. But so far, as it goes on, Ingram's doing a decent job of fending off the BMW of Rainford. He's kept him behind for a couple of laps now.
Hopping up on 2 wheels through Barcroft was that BMW of Charles Rainford, but who's next? It's Ash Sutton, isn't it? So Ingram might be quite keen to keep Rainford between himself and his championship rival Sutton, but now Rainford dives up the inside into the left-handed element of the complex, and through he goes. So Charles Rainford up into the top 5 now, and that means our 2 championship rivals are together at the end of only lap 7. We're only coming up to half distance.
You could almost hear the almost contact between them, almost coming, if not, it was very close, coming out of the hairpin. But you can almost hear the groan, can't you, from Tom Ingram. He looks in the mirrors and he goes, what? No, surely it can't be Sutton already. He's caught me up. How did that happen? Sutton on an absolute charge here. So 2nd in the championship, right behind the championship leader, about to come into the chicane. One of them on the soft tyre, which is the Focus, one of them on the hard tyre, which is the Hyundai, and you feel like sooner or later the move is going to come. Knowing Ash, it's going to come soon, and it's going to come now. On the way into Tower Bend, he launches one down the inside of Ingram. Ingram doesn't fight it too hard, and he concedes the position. He's on the weaker tyre, tries to get back onto him coming out of the corner, but that was very well done, neatly done as well by Ash Sutton, because he pulled off the move, Josh, but without losing any time in the overtake.
That means he can immediately go after Charles Rainford for what would be 5th position. So it's been an absolutely exceptional drive from Ash Sutton. We thought the race 1 drive was very good, but that didn't end up in a result. He'll certainly be hoping that isn't the case this time. While we've been watching Ash Sutton come through the field, his teammate Dan Rowbottom continues to lead the race. He's 1.7 seconds ahead of Tom Chilton, but Chilton is being caught by Darryl De Leon, who's having a really good drive here in the West Surrey Racing BMW in 3rd position. The driver who turned 20 yesterday, the 2nd youngest driver on the grid, chasing after Tom Chilton as they accelerate up across the line. Meanwhile, his teammate who West Surrey Racing, Charles Rainford, has already been caught by Ash Sutton as they complete 8 laps of the race. The Ford in the wheel track to the BMW heading up towards Clairvaux, and I just wonder how quickly Ash Sutton can get into the top 5.
2 Toyotas to deal with next for Tom Ingram, the first of which will be Aaron Taylor-Smith, the reigning independence champion. Now, of course, not an independent, right, racing for Toyota Gazoo Racing. And then
black and white warning flag for Ash Sutton.
Yeah, right, OK, keep an eye on that for, guess what, track limits and turn 11, Josh.
Dan Rowbottom's got the same as well, the race leader. So a couple of the Napa Racing drivers are being watched, and true, in quite significant places. Whether in this race or in the championship for Charles Rainford. He is on the boost, as is Ash Sutton as they head down towards the Jim Clark S's. That means they're going even quicker through the Jim Clark S's than they ordinarily would be.
Yeah, you have to take that into consideration when you're on the boost. You get to a corner much quicker than you normally would, so you've got to brake a bit earlier, a bit harder as well to counter that. So they become rocket ships for a few seconds when they press that button, deploy the extra 80 brake horsepower. Darryl De Leon then looking for his 2nd podium finish in the championship, the first of which of course was a race win at Brands Hatch, the 2nd weekend of the season. Ash Sutton closing up to Darryl's teammate all the way into the hairpin, looking to go around the outside. That's not quite happening. And then you've got Tom Ingram, and then you've got Aaron Taylor-Smith, but there's no Gordon Shedden anymore. He's dropped down the order, Josh.
Is it not Taylor-Smith?
Oh, no, Shedden is there. Taylor-Smith's the one that's disappeared down the order.
He's in the barriers down here, but I think something had already happened. Yeah. He'd lost time in the middle sector, but he's gone off on the second part of the complex and has tagged the tyre wall. I wonder if if he had a puncture perhaps that's caused that. Meanwhile, while we're watching that, there's been that change for 5th position down at turn 1. Ash Sutton has got himself ahead of Charles Rainford. Let's see if we can work out what the problem with Taylor Smith's car is. It's certainly smoking as it goes into the hairpin. He's certainly bound for the pit lane, and perhaps Alan Hyde in a moment will be able to find out what is wrong with the Toyota. It does look low, doesn't it, on the front left?
Yeah, meanwhile, Gordon Shedden gets alongside Tom Ingram. 2 champions together, gets a rocket ship run coming out of Tower Bend, and he'll be through at the Jim Clark S's. So Ingram loses another place. Shedden gains another one, up to 7th position now. Ingram's still the best of those on the hard tyre, though. Camish back in 10th. Proctor on the hard tyre, 15th. He's just about hanging on to 1 championship point. So Taylor Smith, who had a ropey first lap or so in the first race, came back nicely to finish where he started in 7th place. But he'll have to be towards the back of the field now for the next race, race 3. But Shedden doing what kind of expected he would do in this race, coming forwards very nicely, but nobody has come forwards through the order quite like Ash Sutton. Absolutely fantastic drive from him. His next target is going to be Adam Morgan. He's on the boost at the moment as Ash Sutton as he goes over the start-finish line, and the distance between the pair of them for 4th and 5th positions is 1.7 seconds. So Rowbottom leads by 1.7 seconds. Chilton is 2nd, 3rd is De Leon, 4th is Morgan. Sutton, I think, coming after him in 5th place. Rainford down to 6th, Shedden up to 7th, Ingram down to 8th, Moffat 9th, and Camish rounding out the top 10. So just settles down for a moment, but it is, I think, going to kick off between now and the end of this 15-lap race. There's still 5 to go, including the one we're on, and back into the pits, I'm afraid, comes Nick Hamilton.
Yeah, problems continue for Nick. It's been a really disappointing day, hasn't it? He's had one issue in race 1 that put him to retirement. Now he's had some different issues, I think, in this second race of the day. But as you say, Dan Rowbottom consistently leading by about 1 3/4 seconds to Tom Chilton as they head round lap 11 of 15 of this race. We saw Darryl De Leon take that win in race 2 at Brands Hatch. He hasn't been on the podium since. We haven't seen BMWs on the podium terribly often this year, other than that weekend at Brands Hatch, and he'll be hoping he can stay in that 3rd position. He's got a good gap over Adam Morgan, and if anything, Adam Morgan's attentions will be towards his mirrors, because that's where the flying Ash Sutton is coming from. And then you've got Charles Rainford and Gordon Shedden not too far back. And of course, for Shedden and for Adam Morgan, like a few others, they've already got their hard tyres out of the way in race 1, so they've got a good afternoon building up.
Good battle for the final point, the 15th place. Senna Proctor is clinging onto it. The green Hyundai, next one over the line. He's on the boost. He's got Dan Lloyd in the Hyundai, and also in the Toyota, James Dorlin to deal with, as Nick Hamilton rejoins just behind that battle as he comes out of the pits for the 2nd time. But Proctor digging in deep here, hanging on just about to 15th place in that final point. Kind of helped out by the fact that on the last half of that lap and the start of this lap, Dorlin has been on the attack and trying to find a way past Lloyd, but Lloyd has had to defend and has just dropped a length or 2 back from Proctor. Meanwhile, having lost the place to Sutton, Rainford has kind of held on, hasn't he, to the back of the full-time champion. We've got now black and white warning flag coming out for number 80, Tom Ingram. So like Sutton, like a couple of other drivers, he's on a warning, and you get 2 warnings. Then after that, you start getting 5-second penalties applied to your time as the race leader, Dan Rowbottom, comes in. Tom Chilton was 1.8 seconds back at the start of the lap. The gap looks like it's down a bit to me. He's having to work hard, Chilton, because De Leon is really starting to put him under some pressure now in the battle for 2nd place. Got 3 laps to go at the end of this one. Leaders coming over the grid hatchings now. Morgan looking good in 4th. Sutton in 5th. Has just eked a bit of a gap on that lap to Rainford. Rainford, though, has got to deal with Gordon Shedden, who is on the boost. Shedden in the 52 car in 7th place, the 3-time champion. Rainford's only got 1 lap of boost available to him, but 3 laps available to Shedden. So that's going to be a proper fight, isn't it, for 6th place. And Shedden looking strong as Dorlin, his teammate, one of them, draws alongside Lloyd now. The battle for 16th. They're going to be side by side on the way into Clervaux, but Lloyd surely is going to have to back off. Dorlin's going to have to back off out of the move, and Lloyd will hang on to it just about for the time being. So 3 laps to go.
Meanwhile, in the independence category, it's Dexter Patterson who leads the way, looking for his first independence win of the year. He thought he had it at Oulton, but there was a post-race penalty that eluded him of that. He currently leads Chris Smiley by 1.8 seconds. That's sort of another little battle to look out for. Chris Smiley going after him, just got past Sam Osborne at the end of the previous lap down at the hairpin. So Smiley now free to go after Dexter Patterson, but there is a bit of a gap between them, and we are on lap 13 of 15.
Yeah, Smiley almost lost the place back to Osborne. He got really close to him through the apex at Tower Bend, and then you got Mikey Doble in the Vauxhall just behind them as well. But all three currently running out of the points. 2 laps to go then for Dan Rowbottom, who is, remember, 4th in the championship. 2 times a winner this season, once at Snetterton, once at Thruxton. Over the line he goes, looking comfortable, looking in control. If you're in the top... if you're between 6th and 12th in the race, you could get that reverse grid pole, remember. And currently the battle for 6th place is between Rainford and Shedden, and the gap coming down again at the end of that lap as Shedden was on the boost once more. So the Toyota almost with the BMW now as they make their way into turn 2 at Hawthorne. Heading up to Tower Bend though. With just about a lap and a half to go now is Dan Rowbottom. Chilton 2nd, Dilleon 3rd, Morgan 4th, 5th for Sutton, and then 6th and 7th, Rainford and Shedden.
Darryl DeLeon just had a slower lap than the others, so he got closed in by Adam Morgan by 8/7 of a second on that last lap. There's 2.3 seconds between them. There's 2 to go, including this one. So if that continues to come down as it is, Adam Morgan will be pretty close by the end, but perhaps not close enough. But quicker by about 3 tenths in the first sector again with Adam Morgan.
Osborne gets past Smiley coming out of Tower Bend. That was nicely done because Smiley had to hog the inside line. He got a better run out of the chicane. He might have been on the boost as well, Osborne. He knew the inside line was covered, so he went to the outside and then cut back on the way out of the corner. So good move that from Osborne to get ahead of Smiley. That's into 12th place now for him. But about to start the last lap of the race is Dan Rowbottom. Tom Chilton looking good for 2nd. Robo looking for his 3rd win of the season. Chilton through in 2nd, and then over the line is going to be Darryl DeLeon. Ash Sutton has got maybe Charles Rainford coming back at him a bit now. Rainford has pulled back away from Shedden, and both of them on the boost. So they go down to start the last lap of the race into Clervaux, running in 5th, 6th and 7th positions.
You were describing earlier how Senna Proctor was hanging on to 15th position in the final point. He will be no longer because a 10-second penalty for track limits is going to be added to his race time. So that's going to put up to 15th place Dan Lloyd, and James Dorling will move ahead as well. They move up to 15th and 16th with that penalty applied. So Dan Rowbottom, who was very disappointed not, I think, to be on pole position yesterday. Looked strong, didn't he? But he had laps taken away in the final part of qualifying in the quick 6, having been one of the drivers that had fewer laps taken away from him in the earlier parts of qualifying. So he was a bit downbeat yesterday, but he knew he was quick, he knew the car was quick, and he knew he had a great chance to win this race, being on the soft tyre from the 3rd row of the grid with the 3 on the top 3 spots, all on that hard tyre, and he made it quickly stick, didn't he? Got very quickly into the lead of the race, a couple of great moves on the way into the complex, and he's on course for win number 3 of the season. So the driver 4th in the championship, he and Dan Camish hanging on to the top 2 in the points, nose to tail between Sutton and Rainford as they come into the complex for the final time. But here's the checkered flag, and Dan Rowbottom wins here at Croft. 2nd is Chilton, 3rd is DeLeon, 4th is going to be Morgan, who's going to be 5th just about. It's going to be Ash Sutton, but he's almost pushed across the line by the BMW of Charles Rainford, which finishes 6th. 7th to Shedden, 8th place to Ingram on the hard tyre, and then 9th place goes to Aidan Moffat. 10th Dan Camish also on the hard tyre, 11th Patterson, 12th Osborne, 13th Smiley, 14th Doble, and then 15th over the line, he's Proctor, but he's got that track limits penalty, or 2 penalties, so he drops to 19th place once 10 seconds are added on. That's actually the first time since he came back into the championship that Senna Proctor hasn't finished in the points, hasn't finished in the top 10. And so he loses that streak, loses that record, and it means that Lloyd moves up to 15th and picks up the final championship position. So well done, Dan Rowbottom. That will cheer him up no end. He has thoroughly deserved that. A really good drive. Made the most of the tyre that he was on. As I say, picks up his 3rd win of the season.